And this is an important day to consider the workings of Donald Trump's mind, because this is the day that he and Marco Rubio are celebrating starving children to death in the middle of a famine in Africa. This is the day Donald Trump and Marco Rubio are celebrating the removal of previously paid for life-saving AIDS medication for patients in Africa, where a program started by Republican President George W. Bush and Dr. Anthony Fauci has already saved more than 25 million lives just in the 21st century alone with HIV medication. And we have been delivering that medication for 25 years as a gift, because we have the gift and we can afford to give it, because we are the richest country in the world. We've been sending that life-saving medication to the poorest countries in the world without it putting even the slightest dent in the budget of the United States government or increasing the national debt in a measurable way, which on this day, Donald Trump is celebrating his ability to increase the national debt by $3.5 trillion with his tax cut bill for billionaires that passed the Senate this morning by one vote, with the vice president forced to cast the tie-breaking vote in the Senate on the biggest cuts to Medicaid in the history of that program. Trump Republican budget cuts that will take health care coverage away from 17 million people. You have to consider what goes through the mind of a person blithely capable of such grotesque cruelty. We do know that Donald Trump simply lies about the Medicaid cuts in the legislation that he is celebrating. That's how Donald Trump deals with that cruelty externally. Donald Trump just lies about it. Donald Trump doesn't want to own that particular cruelty. That's not one he wants to own. Donald Trump doesn't want to pay the political price, and he doesn't want, as has been proven when President Clinton's party was in power in Congress, when President George W. Bush's party was in power in Congress, when President Barack Obama's party was in power in Congress. And it is now being proven once again, the minority has no power when the majority party is united, as the Democrats were when they created what is now called Obamacare. Republicans opposed Obamacare in the same way the Democrats are now opposing the Republicans snatching health care away from people. And it looks the same. It looks the same on TV. It's men in neckties disagreeing, women in pantsuits and skirts disagreeing. It is the banality of Congress at work. And what you're always left wondering during these difficult to watch spectacles is, why don't they care? Why don't they care about the 15% of the population that was being denied health care coverage in America before Obamacare was passed? Republicans argued in every way they could about what they found wrong with the Affordable Care Act as legislation, and it was reasonable to share some of those concerns, but they never once explained why they didn't care. Why they didn't care about the people who didn't have health insurance and couldn't get it and couldn't afford it and would never be able to afford it without government assistance. And if you say government spending has to be cut and Medicaid is the first place you go to cut spending while you're massively increasing defense spending, why don't you care? Why don't they ever tell us why they don't care? Mitch McConnell told us. Mitch McConnell was quoted as telling his Republican colleagues in a private Senate lunch, they'll get over it. Meaning Mitch McConnell's Kentucky constituents, the poor ones, and the constituents of every Republican senator would get over them taking their health care away. I knew Mitch McConnell when I was working in the Senate, and he was voting against Bill Clinton's health care reform bill, which died on the Senate floor because of the opposition of Mitch McConnell and every Republican. And Mitch McConnell never said then why he doesn't care. The American news media, for the most part, doesn't care at all about today being the official shutdown of USAID. Most of the American news media has not covered Elon Musk's great accomplishment in government in any detail at all. Elon Musk, with Donald Trump's approval, shutting down USAID for the first time in American history. We have, at many points in our history, since 1847 sent famine relief supplies around the world. And we have never once told those ships to turn around until this year. We have never once said that the surplus food supply that the United States produces every year, much more food than the United States could ever consume or sell, must never be given to the people who need that food or they will die. We've never said that before. That's what the United States of America did this year. But the big news story of today is that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are fighting again. The same two deranged rich guys who decided that people should starve to death is not a story, but because they are fighting again, the fight is a story. And that's where the American news media is going to go. That's where they're going to go tonight. Bill Gates, who has done everything he can, beginning back when he was the richest person in the world, to try to use his wealth for good around the world, especially in Africa, sees Elon Musk now as, quote, the world's richest man killing the world's poorest children. What is the basis of this devotion to Donald Trump by elected Republicans in Congress? Who is this person who has taken complete control of those elected Republicans? How does he do it? How brilliant must he be to simply take over the entire Republican Party and convince virtually all of the congressional Republicans, House and Senate, to do it his way all the time?
Shalom. I want to start by saying all praise and honor and glory goes to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Hakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone, and salutations to Akim, pushing this word in all sincerity and honesty, and the whole full leg constancy, enduring throughout the full corners of the world. Shalom. My name is Korah Allah, and Lord willing, this makes for an edifying lesson. Now, that was Lawrence O'Donnell from MSNBC, and the title of that show, he called it, or the title of that speech, he called it the banality of cruelty. Now, I had to look that up because he's basically going into the history of the following presidents before Trump and how cruel they were to the lower class and even the middle class people. Okay, it says here, the phrase banality is cruelty isn't a standard definition, but it does echo a deeper philosophical idea. What could banality is cruelty imply? It suggests that ordinary, thoughtless actions, those that seem harmless or routine, can actually be cruel or even morally dangerous, especially when people follow rules or norms without questioning them. Okay, so that's the point that we're getting at. This is off of ChatGPT. It says, what could banality is cruelty imply? It suggests that ordinary, thoughtless actions, right? Going back to your leaders, okay, Congress, Democrats, Republicans, they're basically all the same thing. It says those that seem harmless or routine can actually be cruel or even morally dangerous, which these laws and these acts that are being passed into laws, they could seem harmless because of why? Because 2/3 or the so-called sheeple, the people of the world, may not even understand the laws, okay, or know them, or might be oblivious to them. They might be caught up in their everyday lives. A lot of these laws they pass is at nighttime, and the people aren't even aware. Okay, it says, especially when people follow rules or norms without questioning them. And that's exactly what happens. As long as these people have the entertainment, they have the bread and circus, as it was staged during the Roman Empire and the Greek Empire. As long as they have the entertainment, as long as they have their jobs, their 9 to 5, their folly, okay, and they can live their lives however they want, they don't really care about the rules that are being applied to them. Okay, they won't really feel it. They won't even think about the rules until it's too late. until he start to feel the burn. Okay, and that's Esau, Edom. That's the ones in rulership, and the rules they're making are cruel to the people. Isaiah 10:1. Woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. Okay, and that's going into these different laws that's being passed. You know, says to turn aside the needy from judgment and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey and that they may rob the fatherless. Okay, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're robbing the people, taking advantage. Okay, yet Israel, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are the first to feel it. The first to get the squeeze. But and on a whole, Esau's main objective is to affect the whole world. Okay, because Esau only cares about himself. That's why when you listening to the speech, I played earlier, it's really nothing new. Okay, it's the so-called white man's MO. Okay, so it says, "Woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees and that right grievousness which they have prescribed." It's a bunch of grievousness. The American, I think it's called American Aid, which they canceled that, and that was to, like they mentioned, that that provided medicine and I believe food also to third world countries that may need it to survive. Okay, healthcare, which the healthcare they're taking away from people, lower class people that can on the regular can't afford the medicine and will die without it. Okay, and the reason they're doing these things is really, one, they're coming down on the people because they are the devil and they're showing their horns, and also two, a lot of that money and that that they use to finance these operations, a lot of that is going to be pushed in to financing war. Okay, to developing the nuclear capabilities and also developing um the nuclear defense systems. All right, along with other weapons of war and other technologies that may be used to fight in this third world war. Okay, but they don't really care about the people. What they care about is themselves. All right, if anyone is going to be sacrificed first, is going to be the people. Which it also lines up with. You could also look into the Georgia Godstones. Let's see what in Elbert County, Georgia, USA, that became the center of numerous conspiracy theories, especially related to depopulation and control of humanity. What were the Georgia Godstones? It says, erected in 1980, the Georgia Guidestones were inscribed with 10 guiding principles in 8 modern languages. The first and most controversial of the inspirations read, "Maintaining humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature." Okay, so that was Chat GPT, and it speaks about keeping humanity under 500 million. Um, let's see. Let's look this up real quick. 2025, the estimated global population is approximately 8.1 billion people. The population continues to grow, though at a slower rate than in previous decades, according to projections from the United Nations and World Bank. The global population passed 8 billion in November 2022. All right, so from 8 billion to 500 million. So there have to be a mass catastrophe for this to be possible. Now, is this something that Esau would like to do? You can't be surprised. You can't be shocked. Okay, you look at their track record. All right, they're straight up stone cold murderers. Okay, how did they get this land called? They call America today. It was through murder, lies. Okay. Psalms 64:2 says, "Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity." As Esau, Edom. Okay, but who's going to be hidden in these last days, which ultimately is Jacob's trouble? The elect is. Okay, the ones out there sighing and crying, friends, families, and believers. Okay, and helpers in this faith. It says Psalms 64:3. It says, "Who whet their tongue like a sword, and bend their bow to shoot their arrows, even bitter words." And Esau's going to do this because it's in their power to. They have control of the media, or plays on the radio, okay, and they have control to create any narrative that favors them, okay. They have something called AI could create live images, and he can't tell the difference between fake or real, okay. So Esau has a lot of tricks up his sleeve, he has a lot of options. It says that they may shoot and also their laws and their legislations. Okay, the laws they pass is not to benefit the sheeple, and it's definitely not to benefit the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. It says that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. Okay, and the perfect is going into the elect. Okay, the ones out there sighing and crying. Because Esau knows who's preaching the gospel, who's leading the people. He has all kinds of cameras, all kinds of you know, speakers, listening to what you're saying, even when you're, in your home, through your TV system, through your radio, through your phone. They're always listening, so they know, and they have images. They know who we are. So when all hell breaks loose, the elect will be a target. Lord willing, off that number. It says they encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, "Who shall see them?" Right? And they're passing those laws and they're denying it, and they're telling you lies and not giving you the whole story, or all the details, telling you what you want to hear. But in these laws, these acts that they're passing, there's a lot of snares and trickery, right? To take away your rights, take away, um, your rights as a so-called American citizen and as a human being. It says they search out iniquities, they accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them, and the heart is deep. So they search out iniquities. So what's the reason for them cutting healthcare, or the aid that they supply to these different nations? Cutting all the jobs. The reason is deeper than what they might say. Okay, but they have that agenda that they have in place, which is the New World Order. And if they have to sacrifice billions of people to do so, they will. Okay, and the first ones to go is going to be so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who are the Israelites, and also the sheeple. Okay, but this also consists of Jacob's trouble. It says, "But the Most High shall shoot at them with an arrow; suddenly shall they be wounded. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves, and all that see them shall flee away. And all men shall fear and shall declare their work unto the Most High, for they shall wisely consider of his doing." Okay, so the Lord's gonna put a wrench in their plans. Okay, their plans are gonna backfire. Right, and when they think they accomplished the diligent searched out their agenda. Okay, the Lord's gonna have it to where they're gonna be shocked. They're gonna be surprised how wrong they have it. You know, Just saying, and the scriptures speak about them real quick. Let's see, let's pulls it up right here. Let's see, it just pulls it up. Okay, let's try this. Psalms 49 and 11 says, "Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names." Okay, so that's the inward thoughts. Okay, that their houses shall continue forever. In order to do this, they have to find a way. Right. So their agenda to take over the world, and also by them making that chip mandatory, the ARPANET microchip, which is another prophecy that has come to pass before this place is destroyed. Which is in the works. Okay, it's here, but it has to be made mandatory. Okay, and that chip is going to help them with a lot of different technologies when it comes to living forever. Okay, so Esau wants to live forever, but he is not the Most High, and like the nations before, he's gonna fall. Right? Lord was edifying lesson. I want to say all praise, honor, and glory goes to Yahweh, Bashim, Yahweh Shai, Bashim, Hakwadash, and the honestly apostles, bishops, elders, millstone, and citation, locking, pushing this word, and also sitting in honesty, and hopeful let the constantly enduring throughout the four corners of the world. Shalom.